we have like the brain chain amino acids, which are leucine, valine, isoleucine, mostly important like lysine, tryptophan, valine, and they are we have 9 indispensable amino acids that we cannot produce in our body, and we have to obtain them through food. And it's interesting because each food, they have a different profile. So for example, cereal grains, they are low in tryptophan and lysine, but for example, if you take legumes, they are lower in sulfur amino acids, which are methionine and cysteine. So each kind of food, they have different profile of amino acid, and that's important when you thinking about what you eat in a meal.
Hello, meat folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. It's your happy, hungry host, Phil Bass. Today we're talking pork, guys, but not necessarily with someone raising it or even cutting it. We're talking to somebody who has experience with the nutritional value, and so we're going to dig a little bit into that, which is kind of cool. And so, first off, I want to introduce the world to Natalia. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah, you
All
did.
right, excellent. And Natalia, tell us a little bit about where you're located at the moment. Which institution are you working with?
So I'm currently doing my PhD at the University of Illinois here at Urbana-Champaign.
Okay. All right. In Illinois, and of course we do have, obviously, Illinois is a known area for a lot of pork and pork products. But you're more in the nutritional sciences, is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right, cool. Well, there was a paper that was shared with me, which got me quite excited, because not only is it looking at some of the nutritional value of pork products, but it dug into areas that are maybe, we think about pork chops all the time, but you researched a very broad variety of different items, and so maybe share with the audience. This is a paper that's published in Journal of Science and Food Agriculture. I was wondering what the JSFA stands for, but it's the title is Pork Cuts, Hams, and Sausages have digestible, indispensable amino acid scores close to over 100. We'll get into what that is, but maybe just briefly talk about what was the project and outline that for the listeners.
So we basically wanted to see what was the protein quality for those pork products. In the past, we've done a lot of meat products in our lab, but we had some pork products that we had not measured yet. So we were interested in like some real meats that are consumably over consumably on the day-to-day basis. So we wanted to test different cuts, pork cuts, different hams, different sausages. So that's was our goal.
And I'm glancing at the paper at the moment, and just to be sure, so everyone can listen, and hopefully this stimulates some interest and thought in the paper itself. There were the very traditional fresh pork cuts, back ribs, butt shoulders, tenderloins. But when Natalia is talking about hams, guys, this is definitely much more in the Italian segment. So coppas, prosciutto, speck, and then went way beyond just your traditional bratwurst. Although bratwurst were looked at, and brought in chorizo and Italian sausages as well. And so this is very exciting. I love the broadness of this study, and you're looking at not just kind of the traditional American pork chop. We're going into other areas where pork can be enjoyed and brings a lot of value to those consuming it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about what this. There's an abbreviation, DIASS, DIAAS. Excuse me. Digestible, indispensable amino acid scores. I'm not familiar with that, so share with the audience why that is important.
Okay. So basically, the IAS is a tool like recommended by the FIO these days to evaluate protein quality. And how do we do that? We have to know what is the composition of the food, which means how much protein the food has, but most importantly, what is the amino acid concentration in that food, because that's the amino acids is what we finally absorbed in our in our body.
Right.
Plus, we also have to consider what is the digestibility of this, how much we absorb of this protein. So that is basically what diet does. It combines the amino acid composition plus the digestibility and put that into a scoring system that it's more uh, um, known for the consumer.
Right. So, um, and we'll get into that scoring because that's the really important part here. But just reminding our audience, especially for those that maybe don't live in the academic world, amino acids, those are the building blocks of proteins. This is the thing that proteins are made. Well, I was super excited about talking about this at the dinner table the other night with my teenage boy who's in his science classes and talking about the value of protein and then it's not just protein in general, right? You have to have the right building blocks
Yeah.
to make it a valuable protein. So maybe expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's not that just the intact protein that you eat. You have to consider what is what is the amino acid composition, most especially the indispensable amino acids, because that's it. That are the amino acids that are not produced by our body. So
Right.
we have to obtain them through the food that we eat.
So give us some examples of some of those indispensable amino acids that we can't generate enough of.
We have like the branched chain amino acids, which are leucine, valine, isoleucine, mostly important like lysine, tryptophan, valine, and they are we have 9 indispensable amino acids that we cannot produce in our body, and we have to obtain them through food. And it's interesting because each food they have a different profile. So, for example, cereal grains, they are low in tryptophan and lysine, but for example, if you take legumes, they are lower in sulfur amino acids, which are methionine and cysteine. So each kind of food, they have different profile of amino acid, and that's important when you thinking about what you eat in a meal, for example.
Right. Absolutely. You know, for those who are regular listeners, you can recall, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I had Dr. Eric Berg from North Dakota State University on here, and talking about a similar project, but in the beef category. But something that he and I visited about is the idea of this of Liebig's barrel, which is it's an idea, a theory of if you're thinking about staves in a barrel. And you can only fill that barrel up to the height of the shortest stave that's there. And we're thinking about especially some of these essential amino acids like lysine and methionine. Very important, but you're not going to get everything you need from, say, a plant-based source, or at least you'd have to eat a lot of it to
Yeah.
get it to
Hmm.
meet your capabilities. So,
Yeah, for
so if
sure.
we're not getting those essential amino acids in a balanced diet, we're not going to perform all the way, right? We're not going to meet our potential. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, like if it's a limiting barrel, like we have some limiting amino acids, we cannot go to our maximum protein synthesis that our body needs
That's
to be
right.
able to perform.
Yeah, well, and especially let's think about growing bodies, the children that are out there, and how important it is to have that balance of our essential amino acids, our indispensable amino acids. So that kind of lays the baseline for everybody. Tell us what you found. Is pork a
Uh,
good thing to eat?
Porks are great.
Okay.
I'm not a marketing person,
No.
but from the study that we conducted here in the University of Illinois, pork is a very valuable protein source with protein quality in a score of more than 100%, which means they are complete proteins and they meet what the amino acids that our body requires.
Yeah. So meat in general, and this study just emphasizes how good pork is. It brings all of the building blocks that we need to optimize our protein needs, which is really cool. You mentioned the number 100.
Mhm.
Okay. And so expand on that. If we're at 100, we're meeting all our needs. Are there foods that maybe don't hit 100? Maybe give us some examples.
Yeah, in this method, like the FIO has some scoring system, and just to kind of set up an idea,
Mhm.
we have scoring systems of 75 to 99 being considered a good protein quality source, but that means that protein is not complete. But then we also have proteins that are more than 100% or at least 100%, which are classified as excellent protein quality and then can be used to complementary other protein qualities. And then we also have proteins that are lower than 75 that they cannot complement any other protein. No claims can be made about this protein. And
I
then
see.
we found that all of our pork products were all above 100%.
That's excellent. Well, and so reminding everybody out there that all of those different items and especially kind of what we would consider in many cases a specialty item like the prosciuttos and the copas, um, it's still an excellent source of protein. Where there's oftentimes you can go to a gas station and you get a protein bar and it says good source of protein. Yeah, well, if they had sliced prosciutto right there, you would. I think not only would it be more tasty, but it's also going to meet all of those needs that you're looking for. So, just a little fun to go along with that. Now, can you remind folks a little bit that maybe aren't going to gain access to the paper or read the whole thing? How did you go about testing for the protein quality?
So we basically use growing pigs as a model for humans because they're very similar, even anatomically or physiology speaking, they're very similar to humans. And there are studies in this area that demonstrate a very good correlation with the pigs and with the humans. And then we can actually transfer the data directly to the human side, especially when we talk about amino acid digestibility. And that's how we tested. We tested in growing pigs, and then we calculated based on the requirements of the human, and then we translate to a scoring system.
Mhm. Just to remind folks, just how similar the body, especially the digestive system of pigs are to the human body. It makes for an excellent model that we can now intentionally manipulate their feed nutrients to assess to see just how good of quality the protein is. So um, very cool. Are there any specific additional takeaways we should share with the audience that you found quite interesting as a result of the study?
I was interested in seeing that actually our prosciutto had a greater dias comparing to the other pork cuts, and we were not expecting that. But that is probably due to the curing process that maybe helped preserve that protein in that product. So that was very interesting to know. And also, we were expecting that sausages, they probably wouldn't have a lot good protein quality because of the fat. But no, we were surprising in seeing that the sausages were also good sources of protein quality. But of
Yeah.
course, you have to think like it's not just protein quality of a ingredient. You have to think that you're eating that with another ingredients in a meal, and what the other ingredients bring is not just protein. You have to consider fat and other maybe additives that you have in the diets. And so I think like porks are a good thing, are a good product to think when you're thinking about getting protein, but you also have to think as quantity that you're eating. How
Hmm.
much are you eating of that source? So
Yeah.
that is really important.
Well, and I'm just so excited that the prosciutto had such a high quality protein score because it's also very tasty too.
Yeah.
And a person could go out and eat beans and eventually reach their protein needs, but um, there's some pretty tasty pork products that you looked at that not only are going to meet the protein needs, but also are highly palatable, that's the
Yeah,
great thing about meat, isn't it?
which is very good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even more so, I think about getting meat into children's diets. It has to be palatable. It has to be something they want to eat, and something that they want to eat again. And so these different pork items are excellent sources for that and for the growing body. Um, well, this is great. We always like to ask folks for the first time who are on MeatsPad, how did you get into the discipline that you're working in? What drew you to human nutrition?
Actually, my background is on animal science. I'm always passionate about animals. I knew, I first when I was a kid, I knew I wanna be a vet.
Mhm.
But then when I started to understand what a vet works with, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. I need to
Yeah.
find something else, but I still wanna work with animals. And then that's when I started my bachelor's degree back in Brazil. And then I studied animal science and I fell in love with pigs. And then when I came here to the U of I came here to work,
Mhm.
but then there was the opportunity to for me to doing in a master's, and there was this project that we were in my lab where we were working with protein quality, and then I became also interested in knowing that the humans were very similar to the pigs,
Mhm.
and that's when I ended up starting those projects and working in that area, and then I actually ended up doing my master's in the human nutrition side.
All right. Well, that's excellent. And are you working towards a dietetics certification as well?
No, no.
No, focusing just on the on more of the research nutrition side.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, Natalia, I really appreciate this time. I think this is important information for folks to get out there. If you do get a chance to read it, it's Journal of Science and Food and Agriculture again. And pork cuts, hams, and sausages have digestible, indispensable amino acid scores, DIAAS, close to or over 100. That's the title. The title says everything, everyone. Get out there and read it. Check this information out. It's good stuff. So, thanks so much, Natalia, and hopefully we catch up again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.